ready. We continue on with this meditation retreat. I hope that you can continue and take this, as I mentioned, sincerely. This is something that is what I'd consider a special retreat, and designed for those that are very serious practitioners to move them along. Before I start, does anybody have a question about the method or question about their method or problems with it that they'd like to talk about first? Nobody.
So you are allowed to unmute yourself.
Anybody have a question about their practice or what I've been talking about? You should have a lot of questions. So, no?
Yeah, I think I'm in.
Okay.
Unmute yourself. Yeah.
Jing Meyer from Ohio was, did you unmute yourself? Did you unmute them, Chan Ming? I think there's a button you can push, a little yellow hand, so that we can see if you have a question, or a natural hand. Jing Meyer from Ohio is raising her hand. Is she unmuted?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Try speaking.
Aini is asking a question.
I can speak now if.
Go ahead, and we'll come back to Jing Meyer.
Yeah. Gilbert, thank you very much. Today's instructions are especially interesting because some of the things that you talk about is what I need at this moment. So I first say that what Mark says about the sound, the noise or whatever that he hears, in my meditation for a long time, I always have this, it's not music or anything, it's like a radio wave, the frequency that comes in. I don't pay much attention to it. And in meditation recently, I have this ability to hold the method, and the awareness is there, but it's like it's blank. And I don't think I am in the ghost cave in a dark mountain, but it's just not expanding or contracting, it's just stale. So I was wondering if you can have a diagnosis of that.
Yeah, I think that just keep going the way you're going. Ignore any kind of sensory experiences.
Okay.
It isn't necessarily bad to have this kind of a blank screen, because I can tell I kind of already plugged into you, to do the diagnosis, and you are not blocking thought. So the mind has just simply ceased having extraneous thoughts arise, because at this point, the extraneous thoughts, they go, oh, he's going to meditate. Let's go, line up, school problems, books, art, whatever, they're all lining up ready to go. But then they go, oh, why even bother now? He's not going to pay attention to us. So they have lost their emphasis to be able to affect you. So not bad. So the thing is that don't sit with an expectation that there's something else that needs to be there. This is the subtle ego that comes up and going, yeah, it's a white background, so what? You know, you would think that you'd be getting something better, you know, that you could see a lotus land or the Buddha or whatever. This is kind of a jip. You know, you waited in line so long and now there's nothing there. That's all right. It's okay. Leave it that way. You're doing fine. You know, you're not trying to purge thoughts from the mind. The thoughts left on their own accord. So continue on. You're doing what you should be, and it's money in the bank. It will pay off. Okay. But if you are sitting and then with this mind that you're seeking something from it, then it will not work. So you're better to just simply just stay the way you're doing it. And then as to the sounds, don't pay attention to them, or else they really can affect you, or any kind of things that are there. You know, we're no longer in the 60s. I know some of you are much younger than that. But we don't try to seek colors or look for colors or for whatever, you know, some extrasensory thing or a signpost that says, you know, 60 miles to enlightenment, and then, you know, 50 miles to enlightenment, then you'll never get there. But you're doing fine. Just stay with it the way you're doing. If the mind is in this kind of a white state, just let it be. And it's not affecting anything. But if you start trying to squeeze something out of it, then that's where you get a problem. You want to try to, the mind or the self wants to try to pull some experience, some meaning out of it, some meaning in samsara for this. Whatever you will experience that's a genuine experience will not be something that is an experience from samsara. It will be way beyond samsara, far beyond anything that you could conceive of. It is no longer in the matter of shapes and forms, although it's not apart from those things. It is just, you will know it to be a genuine because it does not belong to samsara. If anything moves, then that you have to illuminate and simply return to your method. Just kind of do the final housekeeping there. You don't have to sweep the stuff out. You just have to illuminate it and know that it's moving. It is from the samsaric realm. The sounds are moving. It's from the samsaric realm. And then you will you'll have a better chance. So you're doing everything and you're ahead of the curve at this point. So keep going. And then we had Jing. Are you? Oh,
I think I can talk now.
Okay, good.
Hi, Gilbert, and hello, everybody. I have experienced something during the meditation, sort of like a multiple me, and I'm here and there at the same time. Well, I started meditation, sitting meditation last June, so I've been doing meditation every day, never stopped since last June. So then when I started doing some meditation last year, then I suddenly, when I was meditating, I suddenly felt when I meditation, I was sitting in one room, I facing the closet, behind me is the bed, on my right-hand side is the door, left-hand side is the window. So when I was suddenly, I felt I was, instead of facing the closet, I was facing the bed, like I was 180 degree, different directions. And that feeling just so vivid. I I don't see it. I couldn't, it's not there's a sound or anything. I just so strong, but there's a consciousness feel, no, I did not turn. I did not get up. I did not change the direction. But the other side of me, that another vivid feeling is I just totally in a 180 degree different directions facing. So then this kind of started, then I just don't think about it, let it go. Then I just not think about it, just say, I am, and use the method. And then suddenly I did not think, it's all just suddenly, I'm turned around. Oh, I back to my position and facing the door, the bed is behind me. So this happened a few times last year, then stopped. I never had it again at a few times. This year, about a few months ago, then this come up very frequently and become to like once I turn 180 degrees, it stays there until I finally open my eye. When I set my timer, how long I do meditation, when I open my eye, then I will become to like a feeling, okay, now my conscious, my sense, and it will be the same. So then one day when I was doing that, instead of, at first it was a 100 degree, then I turned another 90 degree. So I was facing the window. Then I feel I was facing the window. Even my husband was walking down the hallway, like before, I know he's on my right-hand side, but now it's behind me, the sound, because I know the door. Just me change the direction, the house is not changing the directions. So I stayed like that all the way through. Then when I open eye, then I come back to what my position. Today, then after that, I have not had that happen. Never had a direction change or anything. Today in the morning, doing the first hour meditation, then I suddenly facing like a 315 degree, like I was on 45 degree towards my left hand side. My computer, I was facing my computer, but my computer seemed to become to my side. Then all the way through until I finished the first meditation. Sort of like feel kind of strange, like I don't know, I definitely, it's not any the normal sensing the change the direction. I don't know anybody else have this kind of experiences or not, but how do I understand that? I can consciously know, one me says consciously I was this direction, but another me tell me, no, you are here. Then another me says, oh yes, you both are right. You're consciously, this one's right, and your feeling is true too. Sort of like I'm not sure how to understand this. And today, before I don't know like how I'm clockwise. My change is clockwise because since I had a 180, I just suddenly there's no turning, no trail. It's only from this point suddenly on that point. So, but when I have the like the 300 or 290 or something, then today was 45 towards my left hand. So I know I was turning around. So it's kind of strange.
Okay, have you ever practiced any kind of something like maybe yoga or Qigong?
Oh, I have done Qigong and Tai Chi.
Okay. And then
Yoga.
what kind of Qigong did you practice?
I practice sort of a lot of type of Qigong. There's a different format Qigong, like 8 form bracket, and standing meditation, Ma Wang Dui, Daoying Qigong, and also
Taoist?
Yi Jing Jing Qigong.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of different Qigong.
Okay. All right. The thing is that what you have is that you've kind of discovered this seam in reality. I don't know what the word would be in Chinese, but a seam like between the clothing. And and there's something that you see that you realize that the awareness of the mind is not simply based on the awareness of the direction that you're sitting. So my awareness is different than normal people because I'm always in a sense of being in the 10 directions. Now, that was something that was easy for me to do because in the past I practiced Qigong, and I would practice having a second body sitting facing me, and that body for a certain amount of days would look at the lower Qigong, then the middle Qigong, and the upper Qigong from the third eye, and would just watch me sitting meditating. You happened onto this by perhaps by accident, perhaps by practice. It's okay. And it's something that as you practice, you'll find that you just, now you know how to change awareness. Now you know that the awareness doesn't come from the sentient being. We only practice our limited scope awareness, but awareness can be very broad. So it's okay. Don't think of it as anything too exciting. We don't ignore it, but we don't add more to it, because once we do that, then we will just be stuck having this obsession with this. And this is still what we would call a lower form of Qigong. Not bad. It's lower form of, let's say, closed door Qigong. But it's something that you understand that it's there, and you go, you can use it to say, then this reality isn't as it appears, because how can I be facing this way or facing completely reverse? It's okay. You sit and you practice, but you don't practice it in a Qigong form. You practice it in meditation, but it gives you the faith that you found this scene in what appears to be reality, this apparent reality, that that shows you that it's not quite as fixed as it is. Now, in the Qigong always works on this idea of that finding these seams in reality, and we can bend reality. And we can bend it to make somebody feel better. We can bend it to make things happen. But the difference is that in those experiences and in those practices, there's wisdom as to how mind works, but it is not Anyatara Samyak Sambodhi. It's not this unexcelled wisdom. It is limited. And the practitioners are limited to moving around the samsaric realm and changing the reality. But they cannot transcend that. That's why I don't practice the Qigong. At least I don't practice it and teach it. It comes naturally, and actually the skill level of someone that's practicing sincerely in Buddha Dharma exceeds that. It's just that one doesn't demonstrate those things anymore. They could utilize them in accordance with causing conditions and helping people, but just don't get too excited about that. Understand that this is a signal that you're making some progress, and it's good in terms of it. But as you were describing it, I understood that you had been delving in that, so that enabled you to make those things. So it's good. Now you jump up to a more profound experience and put that to the side. Okay. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't matter. But don't think too much about it or be disturbed about it, or you'll just be stuck in a rut experiencing this without truly experiencing some incredible, wondrous function of the mind itself. Okay, so it's not bad. And these are the questions that I want to hear from people, so I can help you on your way. She's genuinely asking about the experiences and what it means, and I can help her with that. Okay, did you have anything more to say about that?
What's that?
Do you have anything more that you want to say or to respond?
No, thank you. But this is the first time like the people I've been shared this, and it's people's describe and explain. It's kind of different than what you. But I like what you just described it, and yeah, just put it down. And people also told me that's why I was using the methods when that happens. I don't think about that, but it's not. I think about it. It just come up. It's just suddenly like this. But I try not to stick on that. And it's just that, and I never know, and I haven't had this for a few months until this morning. Then I made more turn, just like so that's what I want to bring up, and the things that happened with today's practice again.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just like, you take a probe and you put it into An Yi Pan, and I can feel his heart. I do the same with you, and to feel where you're coming from. This is a little bit higher experience, but it will come to you. These are things that we call super mundane, but it's okay. We don't hold on to them. That's the most important part, is we don't hold on to any extrasensory experience or make it seem like that we are that so advanced because we can do something. If you continue to practice in this way, there will be much more mind will reveal to you. Mind reveals to people in accordance with their causes and conditions, and in accordance with what they can understand. The samsaric side will just throw out a bunch of stuff, and say, what about this? Well, what about this color? I can generate this color, but that's just the illusory magician just taking you off the practice. But if you are steadfast in your method and looking at this in the right way, none of these things will disturb you, okay? Or detract you from your practice. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Wendy.
Thank you. My question is, I had some physical problems, and so I feel tired recently. So do I push myself, or do I just respect my body's limit, or is it all created by mind?
Well, when you say you push yourself in the practice, or push yourself in life?
Both.
You practice in accordance with your ability to practice. There's times in the past where my legs were bad or my back was bad, and I have to sit in a chair to practice, but I still practice as best as I can with those limitations. So these samsaric limitations are ones that we do it. If it's something that is perhaps the ego coming in and going, Wendy, you've done enough. You need to take a break. Just what's on TV, go look and see what's on TV, or go here or go there. And it takes you up. I know that you're a serious practitioner. So you just have to see these things and say, I can get around. If I need to get around with a walker or somebody pushing me or whatever it is, that doesn't define me as to who I am. It's just causes and conditions. So don't let the causes and conditions dictate to you your practice. No, you study on your own accord, but remember the ego is a coward and clever, so we'll come up with these kinds of things. Sometimes we call that Mara, to try to bring you off the practice. And so when that happens, then you lose your spirit of Chan. So whatever you do, just maintain the spirit of Chan in what you're doing. And if the cause and conditions are such that you're not well, then you practice as best as you can. And you practice it in this way, and ignore the idea of that you're not well enough to practice. If you practice and you're sincere in it and you can do it, then you're practicing. If for some reason you can't practice because of the pain or whatever physical limitations, it's understood. But don't let the ego cheat you out, okay? You're not that old, okay? You're like me, you're not a spring chicken. You know, my spring, I think, has sprung, but still, there's still a little bit of life in me. And so you use it, okay? You don't want to die and everybody look and say, oh, Wendy, look how peaceful she is. You should, when you die, they should say, wow, she used her body to the maximum. She's all used up, right? It's better in this way. Don't take a late life vacation. You don't need that. Okay, you need the running start for the next lifetime. Okay, Amitofu.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Nobody else? Oh, okay, go ahead. Yulia. Yes.
Okay, there's this confusion about unmuting, you know. Okay, hopefully I know it's a loaded question and I think you covered it Monday, but and something struck me. We talked about present moment, I believe so. And can you just give like a general scope of what a present moment is? Because I think it's not tuning into the birds chirping outside and the car driving by. So present moment is like this moment between the last thought and the future thought. But kind of a quick refresher so that I could do my meditation better.
Very, very good. That means that you're contemplating and you're looking into this. And so this idea, and pardon me if you hear a lot of things, it's still daylight here and the gardeners just arrived. So they'll be gone soon. I don't know if that affects you being able to hear me or not, but it's pretty loud from my side. Okay. In any case, it's important for you to contemplate this. Like I mentioned, don't think of this as a present moment samsaric wise. And in samsaric wise, we look at the present moment. Let me see if I can find something to write off here. I didn't bring my board up. So we have, in samsaric, we have the future of coming, things that are coming, and the past, and this present moment, this line that just always seems to be, let's say, moving this way, right? So what was once the future is now the past. It's over here. And so when we see things samsarically in this way, it really makes it difficult for us to be there. But, and this is the part that is a little trickier, because I have to try to find a way to create a diagram as to the Buddha present moment. This is the Buddha present moment. It's different, right? It's not linear. Huh? Everything that has happened, that will happen, is in here. This is the Buddha present moment. It is infinite. It is not applied in a time measure like this, because where are we going to see this time measure that is moving this way like this? What do we measure it on? Where do we say, okay, this is the past, this is the future? It is an arbitrary and illusory measure because the time itself doesn't exist. So it's very interesting. And the only way I can say what the Buddha present moment is just this. Mind. Everything is accessible in mind. And the transition between this, again, I'm kind of going to go a little bit deeper in this. So hang on. If you don't understand it, it's okay. But this is a little bit more special. When we are in, let's say, the present moment, as we encounter things, the mind is aware of what has passed and what can come based on causes and conditions. And so sometime, I guess we could look at mind like this. I'm sure you've seen the symbol before. That which is substantial and insubstantial, that is there. The only thing is, in the samsaric way, we cannot understand this flow of substantial and insubstantial. But in mind, we see it clearly because we're ahead of it. And as we practice in this way, there's many times that we are waiting for apparent reality to catch up. Because we are functioning with this, and apparent reality is functioning this way, past and future. But as we're in the present moment, because we are not operating off of this grid, we can be over here in the future. We can also see what happened in the past that is bringing forth something into the future. And in the present moment, we can influence the future by tiny adjustments or gross adjustments to whatever is happening in that moment. And so a lot of times we're already over here in the Buddha mind, waiting for this appearance reality to catch up to mind, because it's already a done deal. It's very interesting. You go, well, how can that work? And how does that give us free choice? We still have free choice because all of this is happening within mind. And so we're generating the free choice. This is why I represent it in a Tai Chi symbol, because it is flowing, constantly flowing. So there is free choice there. It is not cut in cement, but we are able to see that. But everything in mind is already there, but it's not somebody that's saying, all right, you're going to win the lottery, you're going to have a flat tire on the freeway, you're going to do this. It is not that way that somebody is setting this out. But in our mind, as we are functioning in the present moment and wherever we're at, we still can influence the future create the future because everything's created by mind. And we are using mind. So we can influence the future by setting forth the causes and conditions via body, speech, and mind that enable us in this so-called present moment to modify what is going to be happening in the future. And in this way, what we're doing is we're waiting a lot of times for the reality to catch up. And it can be something very, very mundane. For instance, I used to have this one old judge that I just absolutely adore because he understood me and I understood him. And we would have these mediations and we would be there and the other attorney was so tight and couldn't see it, but he could see the solution to it. I could see the solution. And so he would come into the other attorney would come into the room and I was gently putting forth the conditions that would subsequently lead to a solution that would happen hours later. And then that attorney would go to the other room to talk to his clients. And then this judge and I would just gab. We just talk about stuff, you know. And then finally, I would go, it looks like the soup's ready. And then the person would come into the room and say, okay, we agreed to this and this and this and this. A place where the judge and I had already arrived at several hours before, but it needed to be influenced in this way, not in a bad way, but in a good way where there's a harmony there. And so throughout that time period, the tension of this attorney finally broke down to where the attorney lost his sense of self and saw that this was the solution. And so this is kind of a way that I'm saying, okay, now the reality of it caught up in that moment. And this is very mundane kind of a way of seeing things, you know, that you can look at and you say, oh, all right, you know, or you could say to somebody, you know, I remember telling one of my secretaries, I said, oh, your husband, he's going to go gamble this weekend. And she goes, yeah. I said, tell him, don't go, don't gamble, don't gamble. So on Monday, I said, did your husband go to Las Vegas to gamble? She said, yes, and he lost a lot of money. But I could not change it, but I could see it. But when the people have a trust in that, and then later on, then you can set the things in terms of harmoniously to do it. Sometimes you can change the future, sometimes you can't. You try to do your best with it, but it's not always that way. The reason I'm using these examples so you can see this idea of time and space is kind of a very loosey-goosey notion. But sometimes because of the karma, the things nevertheless still have to happen, even if you try to stop them. So I remember once before telling my former wife, don't be very careful when you drive today because you're going to get a ticket. And I said, really think about this. So then she texted me later and said, you know, you were right, because an area where I speed, there was a policeman there and I slowed down and I didn't get the ticket. And then I went, well, that's good. You know, it finally worked. And then she texted me later on and she goes, I got a ticket in another spot. So even I tried to do that, I could not help that. But you get an idea how this works, but sometimes the causes and conditions are too strong, no matter what you do to mitigate. Maybe I should have been doing recitation the whole day, it might have worked. But the thing is that these are very mundane things, you know, that are there. And and so this is how things work. We see that, and it's all in this dynamics here. And so any kind of concept of time and space is always moving, but we use our wisdom to see that, so that we don't use this kind of a present moment. Okay, we practice with that just to kind of get ourselves where it's no longer thinking of the past or thinking of the future. We just come to experience what is happening in this present moment. But as we begin to practice in this way, there's a moment where that present moment explodes into this. That's where I want you to be at. Okay, so you practice like this, slicing it thinner and thinner and thinner, until one day it will look like this. So again, they're pictures, so it's not really mind. And for whatever, I don't want any of you to say, oh, I saw the Tai Chi symbol. You know, don't do that. I'm just using that as an example so that you can have an idea of something that is unconceptual to do that. So hopefully that explained that to you, because that was like a long explanation. Yeah. Okay, good. Because now you can use that and contemplate that. Okay. And as you're sitting in meditation, you're using this direct contemplation. This direct contemplation is not somebody like Rodin's thinker. What am I going to do after I finish posing for this sculptor? No, you are in this present moment, and you are experiencing mind on both sides, mind on this side with the method here, and mind on this side, which is looking at mind here, matching halves. And so when you see things in this way, it changes. These concepts help you when you sit to meditate, so that you understand what is appearing in mind and why it's appearing in mind. This is very, very important to have this. Why is this appearing here? And we're clear about it. And when we are coursing through the deep prajna paramita, which means any time in your life, you are aware through body, speech, and mind that you can alter that, the future reality, based on what you're going to say, think, or do next. It's very, very interesting. Okay. All right. And then Minchen She has a question.
Hi, Gilbert. I think you just answers some of my questions, but I would like you to explain more. So earlier in your talk in the morning, when you talk about the direct contemplation, you mentioned that contemplating on the method, and then the mind contemplated the mind. So can you explain about this? And also how this related to let go of all the phenomena when meditating? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay. When we are sitting, we bring up the method. Really, I'm writing on some of my correspondence from work. I better not do that. Okay. We have the method here appearing in mind. Now, this is substantial mind. The method is insubstantial. It's transient. we are viewing from the mind's own eye here the method that is reflected upon mind. This is how we meditate. But this is how we should meditate. But what we do is, sorry for the scratch out here, but we're looking, and then we have this idea of somebody that is looking at the method. Okay, but they're blocking the view. Get out of the way. You're just another appearance in mind. That is, no, sorry, Putra. Consciousness is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than consciousness. This is empty. This is a illusory sentient being that's blocking this, but it's saying, I am looking at this. Okay, I am looking at this. And what I use to try to describe this, and if I can get this right once, I'll do it, but most of the time I can't. It's worth the wait if I can do it right. There's a saying in Spanish that says, "We are walking," said the fly to the ox. Okay, so you have a work ox and the fly saying, "We are walking," and it's like this. The fly is on the ear of the ox, and it thinks that it and the ox are walking. Okay, but you see what a chip. The ox is going, no, you're just this fly, buzz off. You know, you are not walking, you are not meditating. So here in this picture, when we have this idea, it's saying, I am meditating, and the mind's true eyes going, no, you're just in the way. You're just an appearance in mind, reflected in mind. You're not really there. And so, but we are always meditating this way. That's why we get nowhere, because we're always meditating and we don't bring the true essence of mind into it. So directly contemplating means that even if this is there and thinks that it is meditating and looking at the method, mind is aware of this illusory consciousness posing as mind. No, you're a ghost. How can you be me? That's why they say that. Let me see if I have that. This is a quote I used yesterday, and maybe that might help you. It says, this is from a monk called Liang Che, and he says, seeking it from others is forbidden. For thus it becomes further and further estranged, further and further apart. Now I go my own way entirely alone. There is nowhere I cannot meet it. There's nowhere I cannot. Now it is just what I am. It is just what I am. Now I am not what it is. Thus, one must understand. Then one accords with true suchness. The fly is not the ox. This one does not know this or this. He only looks at the method, but it's illusory. Come back in 100 years and this one will not be there. This one was never born or created. It has an all-access pass. It is why it enables to project phenomena on its walls of this. This is the true consciousness, the true awareness of mind. So if we practice just this way, then we cannot get it because we only get half of it. And maybe at some point in time, this will come back into focus and this one will disappear. We hope, but that's the long way around. Instead, it doesn't go through the pass. No, it goes all the way around the mountain and you hope that it can make it around in time. But this is the shortcut. This is using the hoe in the proper way. When we use the hoe in the proper way, it cuts right through all illusions. If it doesn't, it just keeps hitting from the handle part and just mashes things, but it doesn't really cut through. When we have these and we understand this, now when we sit to meditate, we're in business. We're there. We've got it. So we're able to, through this principle, sit and apply everything and the practice will flow easily. If not, it just keeps running up against the back of this so-called meditator, and it'll take a long time before that meditator is discovered to be an imposter. Why? Because the mind is stuck with this idea of a personality, an ego, or a life and being that's there. But that's what's causing all of the dependent origination. It's ignorant to that. The very first thing that Shakyamuni Buddha taught, and the people went, what? And he was, oh, I need to teach them something else. Four Noble Truths. You suffer, right? Oh yeah, we suffer. And he goes, wow, that's a winner one. So he put aside the 12 Nidanas because the people were not able to understand that. But you can see this. That's all I talk about is pratika samapada. It is mind. The sutras say pratika samapada is mind. So if you understand this, now you know how to practice. Okay. So hopefully that will have explained that to you. The questions that are coming up are really remarkable because they're actually my presentation of what I wanted to address with you today as to how to practice. So this is not how to practice. Cross your hands, put this one here, put it on your lap, and hope for the best. This is real Chan practice. Okay, the real deal. Okay. Any other questions? No questions? Because these questions have been pretty good.
I would like to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So you are talking about we work on the mind, not on the phenomena. If we always work on the phenomena, it's take a long time when we for us to return to the mind. Does you imply that?
Yes, I think that you got it. You got the essence of it, because it'll take a long time to break down the phenomena, because we do not know the shortcut. The shortcut is just use mind. Just this mind, this is Ekayana. All of the ancient masters, they just hit on this and hit on this. Everybody was doing all the sutras are all talking about just mind. And so if we use that, then it works. What I've done, Lena, is I've reversed engineered realizations. And John Wen would love this, you know, because it's like, oh, somebody gives you something and says, you know, here, look at this. This is my mouse, you see.
Very huge one.
And you go, how does it work? And then you deconstruct it. And in this deconstructing of it, then you realize why it works the way it works, and why the pointer goes and whatever. And so this is the way I did. I wanted to find the way to do that, how to explain, how to get to the next point and beyond. And so this reverse engineering of how it works, and in light of the sutras and the treatises, then makes it the shortcut. You don't have to discover or design that mouse. It's already there. It's already laid out. All the blueprints, all the reasons why it works is already there. You don't have to do that. That was the importance of what Suja Monifo's appearance in this world was to give us those blueprints. Go ahead. No? Oh, I can't hear you now.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, so this question is related to you just what you say. So I think once in your Monday night lecture, you're talking about so we learn concept of Buddhism and we try to practice, but there's a distance between the practice and the concept. And you say that we practice very hard, but actually it's because we tied with the ego to practice. So the more we practice, and the stronger our ego is. And it didn't, so that's why that it come up with create some kind of distance between the concept and our practice. So my question is that because we have the ego, we need to practice. And and the concept of the like Four Noble Truths or the 12 links is let us understand what's wrong or what we should go. And but because we practice with ego, and supposedly if we can practice without ego and just directly go to the mind, look inward, and we can probably practice and as close it's a shortcut, and we can realize the concept, those kind of Buddhism practice. So, but because we are in samsaric human, and so how you practice and with the ego, and supposedly it's let go of the ego. Like you always say that you cannot get enlightened because you. But so we practice, and because we have a strong ego, but we try very hard, try to practice. But so do you have any suggestion? I know many people in this meetings. That's why we are here, right? We try to practice so hard. And sometimes, most of the time, oftentimes, we don't know that actually we are practicing with the ego. And the stronger, the more practice, actually make the stronger ego. So can you help us?
Of course, but let me stick a fork in Sentha, and perhaps Sentha can answer your question. This is a what do you call it? One of those quick unannounced tests. Can you respond to her? I'll put the.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead.
So until we realize the emptiness of the self, we are using the self as best as we can to meditate. So when we start with our practice, we are, there are some people who practice in order to alleviate the suffering of others from the very beginning. But most often we start because we realize that we suffer less when we meditate. So that's often where we start. And then often we see that our practice has, a beneficial effect on others. And we practice for that as well. So up until we realize that the self is empty, the self is there. I mean, there's no way you could, without realizing the emptiness of self, avoid the influence of the self. So, so when you realize the emptiness of self, then you realize, oh my gosh, this has been such a powerful influence. And then practice changes at that point, but practice is still there. So is it that, the stronger the practitioner you are, the stronger the self? Maybe, maybe not. But I would just say that you have to practice with everything you have until you realize the emptiness of the self. I mean, up until then, it's pure speculation.
Okay, thank you. The story that Shifu used to always say in the Chan Hall. Even they have the calligraphy in the Chan Hall and DDRC to choose the Buddha. The shortcut is we choose the Buddha. You know the story behind the choosing the Buddha. Do you remember it? The story essentially is a young man, he was going to the capital in China to take the exams, to see if he could get a government position. And it's a very hard exam, and people come from all over the country to take the exam. So he was traveling a ways, and he went to this one monastery and said, I cannot make it to the capital. Is it possible I can stay here overnight? And they said, of course you can stay here. And so in the evening when they were having dinner, the abbot of the temple was informed that they had this visitor that was a traveler. And so he had a discussion after dinner with him and say, I heard that you're traveling. He says, yes. Where are you traveling to? And he told them the whole story about the capital. And he said, to take the test, it's very hard. And he said, yes. And not everyone can pass. He says, oh, very few people pass. It's very, very few out of all the thousands of people that apply. And he said, well, why don't you stay here? Because we have no test. You can be here and you are guaranteed meals and accommodations, and you can practice here free from any competition or anything. You are part of the community. We would accept you. You do not have to pass any tests. Why don't you just stay here? So the young man, he thought the whole night. And then finally in the morning, he came to the abbot and said, I choose the Buddha. And this story, it seems very simple, but it's very powerful. Moment to moment to moment, we choose the Buddha. The self is only manifest if we choose self. But moment to moment, if we choose the Buddha, the self has no ground, no momentum, no energy to remain as an illusion in mind. We have to know that. It is why this young man understood that and made that decision. I choose the Buddha. That's why it's there, because it is something that when we practice, Lena, if you practice in this way, the self will not be present. It cannot be present. Even if it's present, it will be very weak. Because when we're talking about direct contemplation of the method, it is a fusion. Hold on a second here. Of the knowing aspect of mind and the method. So we have this knowing aspect of the mind. In Chinese, it's Ru Zi. And maybe somebody can say what the proper name of that is, ZHI. And on this side, the mind ground is Ru Jing. And they are known together as Ru Ru. If you practice in this way, from the very beginning, you're already in mind. You're already there. You are not practicing like this. You're practicing directly contemplating the method. Direct contemplation is an access to mind via mind, directly making the connection, the two matching halves coming together. The method is projected upon mind. It is fundamentally empty and it's understood. So this method, right from the beginning, right out of the box, will work. It will work because you are not thinking about the method. There's no thought. You are contemplating it directly. And this direct contemplation of it fuses the two sides, brings them together. This is mine. So right from the very first moment when you're sitting, you're already in mind. It's yours to lose. If you practice like this, you may get there and this will ultimately disappear, but it's so much more effort to try to get there because you have to ultimately come to the idea that there's no ego. In the manner in which I'm proposing that you practice, it's presupposed there's no ego. So you just simply keep there in the present moment the method, looking at the method continuously. Where is there anything that be able to percolate up from the sides to overcome that? As long as you use the method in the proper way, the mind will fuse and there will be a realization from that. It is much easier to do it in this way. If we go from the other way, like I say, it's like having to go around the mountain. Maybe you make it, maybe you don't. But this one is direct. It's right there. Because from the first moment that you're meditating, you've chosen the Buddha. You already know this mind is the Buddha mind. There's no self in it. So we leave that alone. We go directly to choosing the Buddha, moment to moment to moment to moment. It's ours to lose. If we practice it continuously, with no thinking, no looking around, we don't need to look around. We're using the Buddha mind. The Buddha mind knows what's there. It knows all of the happenings and appearances. It has nothing to do with this present function. The present function of maintaining attention on the method, maintaining the attention of the mind on the method, not the self coming in and doing that. If you do that and you try to fuse the two sides, bring them together, all you're going to get is a bologna sandwich with the ego there as the bologna. But if you just go direct, just right there to the direct use of direct contemplation, looking straight at it, not wavering. It doesn't matter what appears before you. If the Buddha appears before you, chase them off. If Mara appears, chase it off. If temptations appear, if attractions and detractions, whatever it is, don't waver. Be fearless. It will work. It's direct, because you are using mind from the very beginning when you're sitting down. You don't have to try to generate some wisdom to bring it up. This is the profound wisdom. This is what the Queen Shamala Devi's Lion's Roar Sutra talks about. And maybe I spelled it wrong, but it's nescient entrenchment. And saying why the mind, why the people can't practice in the proper way, because this very deep entrenchment of the ego. This is ignorance. Nescient entrenchment stands for ignorance, but down at the very, very bottom of all of that is that damn ego. And it's hard to get it out. If you've ever had a splinter in your finger that's really deep, you'll know how deep this idea of the ego is in. And then you have fear. Oh, I don't want to pull the splinter out. It's going to hurt so bad. Oh my gosh, it's so deep in there. But everything you touch, it causes you suffering. It's that deep. But we have to be fearless. And we pull it out, not from pulling it out and causing suffering, but maintaining the method. That ego will naturally be pulled out. Why? Because it's an illusion. And what you're practicing is real. It's permanent. It's uncreated. When we understand this, we have no fear to use this method. We're clear about it, and it will work. If you want to do it the other way, go ahead. But, you know, how many lifetimes will it take? Where this one, maybe now, you've already made tremendous strides. So you have to have faith in those strides. You can do it. Okay, you can do it. You just set aside the whole thing of trying to get rid of the ego. We don't need that. We just choose the Buddha moment to moment. It is really as easy as that. All the rest of the stuff, you know, we've been talking about this and doctrinally and very deep, but nevertheless, this is how it works. What I wanted to do today was present this and show you why it works. Okay. And so thank you for your question, because your question, I know you're a good practitioner, but yet we have to finish this. So I think this will help you a lot to finish this. Sue, do you understand? Oh, unmute her, please. Hold on. Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Yes, I do. But I think I want to add something. I think from the practice standpoint, I think a lot of people still struggling, because I think any time that involve the feeling senses and something expectations, that it's part of practice ego. When you don't let go, you're aware of everything, but let go of everything at that moment, like you say, choose the Buddha every moment. I think that's the technique. I think it's what you were talking about, correct?
Yeah, I'm hoping that this will push you through. You know, I always talk about jumping into the void or into the abyss, and we are afraid of that. We don't understand that, nor can we ever understand it, but we have to have the faith to push forward and to do that. And again, I'm sorry, Senta, I stuck you there, but I'm just, like I say, just working on my senior student and poking at her.
And
Okay.
Gilbert, I think that yes, we will continue to, when we continue to practice, we will come to that, you know, crossing road that you had to just go through that fear, like you say. You know, we will get stuck. It's like place with no map, fear, and didn't know what to go. I think that's a good place to get stuck. And then when we stuck, then we just let go.
Hi, okay, go around the mountain. I'll meet you on the other side, you know, in 2 more eons. So,
but I think it's the important practice. The point to practice is be aware of every moment, like you say. Once you let that self go, that your awareness is like a 360 degree. not just a final, focus of one thing, but it's all, you know, awarenesses are all like universal. And then you know, it's anything bother you, anything happen, any phenomenons appearances had to just let it, not let it go, but just it's there, but not to be concerned.
Well, the
I
thing
think
is,
that's the best I can put it. But
all right.
anyway.
Okay, the phenomena is naturally arising according to causes and conditions. It's an illusion, but it is nevertheless, hold on. It's in mind. All of this is in mind. When you understand that, then it makes it easier. So the method that I'm presenting to you, if you do it in the proper way, it will produce results a lot faster than sitting there and trying to make the ego go away, because it presupposes that the ego does not exist and you're simply fusing the two sides of mind together, and it works. It really works, and it's why you get quiet so quickly when you use this method. But you need to know how to use it, and that's what I've been doing. And I also, the theory behind why it works, and what we understand is the ego that is not truly real or genuine. It appears and it affects the phenomena, but it is not the true self nature of mind. Okay. Anybody else have a question? Nobody? You understand this?
There is a who then? Who?
Go ahead. Can we unmute him and he unmute himself?
Yes, Gilbert, this is
Yes.
Hui Chun. So my question is how the direct contemplating different from the silent illumination. We have been kind of hearing the method wise.
Okay. This is a good question. Was there more that you wanted to say, or is that you're okay? And this is the utilization of moksha or illumination using right view. And when we have right view, then we know that we are just sitting, because when we're using illumination, this method is not in this way. It is everything. It's infinite. And so it's not just simply the awareness of the Chan Hall or your room. It is the awareness of everything. Little by little, that will be realized. But we are simply looking directly at appearances in mind. When we get up off our cushion, we maintain the silent illumination. It is called walking, talking, speaking, and Chan. We are completely aware that we are traversing in samsara, yet we understand that this mind is not, we could say, part of samsara in the way that a samsaric sentient being believes. The body is, but the mind is beyond. And so when we sit to do silent elimination, we're sitting and we're directly looking into appearances. In that moment, whatever appearances you see are simply what's coming up on the periphery of mind, all sorts of different ideas of thoughts, mental impressions, but we maintain the mind clearly, directly contemplating mind, meaning that mind and mind fuse together. It doesn't fuse together in a way that excludes the contents of mind. It illuminates those contents. It illuminates them and say, this appearance of a dog is here because I want a dog. And I'm trying to decide, or this comes up because I have a problem with bills, or I want to buy something, or I want to be, and it's clearly aware of that without ever engaging and thinking of it. It knows precisely why these things are appearing. It doesn't have to cast them out. It just has to illuminate them to know where they come from, the cause of them, and the subsequent condition if one is to gaze upon them or to do something with them. Instead, the mind is fused from the knowing aspect of mind and the Dharmakaya, the mind ground, and it is clear. It is infinitely clear as to all of these appearances within mind. So this is true silent illumination. If you're sitting there and you start hearing the birds chirp, oh, it's so cute, the chipmunks, the deer coming up over there at the DDRC, the clouds in the sky, and you're singing Kumbaya with the environment, that's unified mind. That's not it. Okay, that's not it. Get out of there. If I would be there, I would kick you in the bottom, get you to move out of that, because you're wasting your time there. It took effort to get there, but you've got to get out of that. Silent illumination is so much. Silent illumination is mind. It's just mind. And when we see it in this way, we don't view mind from the context or consciousness of a sentient being. You mess it all up if you do that. You can't do that. A sentient being can't get that. They don't know that. And there's an often told story about, and I'm aware of the time, so I'll try to cut it close here, about someone going, a scholar, and let's say it was Anyipan, and he's going there and he's meeting this Chan master, and then the Chan master asked him, "What are you studying?" Remember, and he was pouring them tea, and Anyi saying, "Well, I've studied this sutra and this sutra and this sutra and this sutra," and then he's pouring the tea into this little tiny cup, and then the scholar says, "Look at that. How can you possibly do that? The cup is overflowing." And then he said, "So too are you." This is always like one of those, what I call cheesy Chan stories. Okay. Oh, your cup is overflowing. Oh, please, don't tell me that one again. But there's something very interesting in that one. And that's that there's a deeper meaning to that. And that's that there is no way that whatever's contained in that teapot can fit into that teacup. No possible way. So it is not that his self is overflowing. It's just that the capacity of mind is far greater than the illusory consciousness of a sentient being. When we understand that, then we understand how mind works. we set aside all of that and we see things in the proper way. That a sentient being, if I was going to download everything of mine into Sue's head, do you know what would happen? Everybody's going, I want to see that. Her head would explode. And because it cannot contain it. And no, we don't want to see that. But in any case, when we understand that, then we understand how sillumination works. Don't sell it short. Don't sell it short. This will lead directly to it. Okay, we've gone 1 minute over. I think we have another break right now, right?
Yes, we will
And-
have 1.5 hour break.
Okay, and then we come back for the last bit. I'll do some instruction, and then we'll have some sharing time afterwards. So hang in there. I hope this is helping you. I've gone through some very detailed ideas as to how mind works, because if you don't know how mind works, there's no reason to be sitting on the cushion. To just be sitting there watching movies. Okay, so I'll see you in an hour and a half. Amitofo. Bye-bye.